Sean Diddy Combs was one of the most respected figures in the music industry for decades. But over the last year, his image changed. His former girlfriend, Cassie, filed a lawsuit alleging she was raped and abused by Combs. Shocking video confirmed Cassie's claim. Diddy settled that case and released an apology video, but a slew of other lawsuits followed, filed by men and women accusing the music mogul of abuse, sex trafficking, drugs, and more. Meanwhile, federal investigators raided his home for evidence of crimes. And now the latest lawsuit comes from a woman who claims she worked at one of Diddy's famed white parties and that he demanded she have sex with guests. The suit also implicates a popular music magazine, Vibe, of conspiring with Combs. Tonight, we are diving into the new claims against Combs and what we know about the other allegations made against him since that shocking revelation from Cassie last year. Welcome back to Closing Arguments. I'm Julia Janae, filling in for Vinnie Politan, who's on assignment for his other show, Accomplice to Murder. We are paying attention to the music mogul Sean Diddy Combs' cases. He slapped with another lawsuit at the end of last week, marking now the 10th lawsuit filed against him. This latest legal saga for the embattled star accuses him of sex trafficking and drugging women. The lawsuit also implicates a popular magazine of conspiring with him. Take a look at this lawsuit. It's in July 3rd, filing. A woman whose name we're protecting because she is claiming to be a sex assault victim. She's going after Combs and his businesses, including Bad Boy Entertainment Holdings, Sean John Clothing, Combs Global Enterprises, Tamiko Thomas, and others, including Vibe magazine. They are all included in this lawsuit, including some Jane Does 1 through 10, all organizational Does 1 through 10. And the plaintiff in this case says she met Combs in 2004 when she joined her boyfriend, who was auditioning for a part in Combs's Sean John clothing line. And the suit alleges that as a deal to get her boyfriend cast as a model, the plaintiff was told she would need to work at Combs's white parties. Now, these parties in the Hamptons and Miami area were lavish events where guests wore all white clothing. The filing states that, quote, in an effort to assist Mr. Gallo, the boyfriend's desire to become a model, the plaintiff agreed to what she believed to be legitimate employment with the defendant Combs and BBE Entertainment at the white parties in the Hamptons, New York, Miami, Florida from 2004 to 2009. Plaintiff did not agree to a lifetime of aftermath of being used as a sexual pawn for the pleasure and financial benefit of others. It also says that plaintiff was strictly instructed at these parties by defendant Combs and Thomas on which bottles of alcohol and champagne female employees were to exclusively drink from, and also required the plaintiff to take narcotics offered by white party guests. Upon information and belief, this plaintiff is claiming that defendant Combs laced the liquor with ecstasy, which is why plaintiff was provided those strict rules on which bottles females were to consume from. During this white party, plaintiff was provided a black dress to wear by defendants Thomas and Combs, when previously plaintiff was provided with white clothing like other guests. And the theme of the party, she believes she was required to wear a black dress to the white party to denote her capacity there as an employee, but also more sinisterly as a sex-trafficked sex worker. Now, Court TV has reached out to Combs and other defendants in this lawsuit and asked for a statement. We have not heard back. Combs has previously denied accusations in other lawsuits, calling these claims false, offensive, and salacious, and saying that some of the statute of limitations have run on these claims. Let's talk about this latest lawsuit. Joining us from Los Angeles, California, entertainment reporter and host of Kenzie's LA Diaries on Talk TV, Kenzie Schofield is with us. Kenzie, thanks so much for joining us. You've been talking about this with us for a while now, since last year when we saw that first lawsuit filed that really went viral, to say the least. It's not the first lawsuit for sure that Diddy Combs has had to face. But tell me about what's standing out to you from this particular lawsuit from this woman who was a girlfriend at the time of someone who was an aspiring model with the Sean John clothing brand.
Well, first of all, the details. I don't think we've ever heard kind of the template that she claims they were utilizing at the time. behind the scenes, what was going on truly behind the scenes, the black dress, how they navigated things, and kind of the codes. We had no clue. Additionally, I don't know if you remember this, but those white parties were pop culture phenomenons. Everybody wanted a ticket to the P. Diddy white party. So to hear, I mean, Martha Stewart, I mean, it was just everyone wanted a ticket to these parties. So the idea that such salacious things were happening behind the scenes, Cassie talked about very specific parties that were completely different from these white parties. But, Vibe magazine, Entertainment Tonight, you'd see mainstream media outlets covering these white parties. So that was a real surprise to me. Also, let's talk about the fallout. Last month, we saw the end of Diddy Day in Miami Beach. He recently returned to his honorary key to the city at the request of New York City Mayor Eric Adams. His music has been paused on Peloton's platforms. He had to return his honorary degree from Howard University. They got rid of his scholarship. He sold off his stake in Revolt. He was allegedly dropped by his NYC entertainment attorneys, according to News Nation, at the insistence of Lady Gaga. So, I mean, so much fallout from this man, or for this man. It's amazing to sit back and watch.
Yeah, we've seen the fallout, but he's been very quiet, Kenzie. Has there been any response outside of, we've had some motions to dismiss that his attorneys have filed on his behalf? We'll talk later about his apology, but we know that he doesn't have anything on social media right now, really, especially on Instagram, where we saw that apology come out.
Okay, well, he did post a video on his Instagram stories this last week. Those are the type that expire after 24 hours, showing him approaching his private plane with a floor mat that read Combs Air. And after acknowledging the pilot in the video, he mumbles, "No place like home." Now, this resulted in headlines like Diddy flaunts wealth as he boards private jet Combs Air. Amid criminal investigation, he received a lot of negativity from people, lawyers and people that say, if I was representing him, I would certainly not want him flaunting, the luxury in this way. And it was the first time he posted on his Instagram since wiping it clean in late June. But we also saw him 2 weeks ago in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where he went whitewater rafting. So is he as scared as he potentially should be? I'd say his actions speak otherwise.
Kenzie, in this lawsuit, we see some references to other big names. This plaintiff is saying she's feeling brave enough now to come forward because of the other lawsuits. And she said that her time around him just really impacted her life in a negative way. This was back in between 2004 and 2009. But it is the process here in this case against Diddy. He hasn't been charged with anything, but he is dealing with these lawsuits that are listing civil issues, civil complaints that also translate to potential criminal complaints like sex trafficking. Is it hailing any other things that we have seen in high-profile cases to you?
I mean, right now it just looks like a tsunami. I am really surprised by it. But Diddy's attorney told Entertainment Weekly this week, no matter how many lawsuits are filed, it won't change the fact that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted or sex trafficked anyone. So as you've said, Diddy is insisting that he is innocent of all this. His attorney said, "We live in a world where anyone can file a lawsuit for any reason and without any proof. Fortunately, a fair and impartial judicial process exists to find the truth, and Mr. Combs is confident he will prevail against these and other baseless claims in court." So you and I, all eyes are going to be on these lawsuits to see how they unfold, because so far none of them have concluded as quickly as the Cassie lawsuit did.
That's so true. That was just within a moment's time that we saw that settlement and the statement by his attorney saying even though they are settling this, it is not an admission of guilt, and he still denies everything that was in it. But then we saw that video. There's a mentioning in this lawsuit of this person who was a woman who helped Combs, according to the plaintiff, groom girls. And they said she was the Ghislaine Maxwell of Jeffrey Epstein's debacle. Are you seeing any themes that are coming out from all of the lawsuits that have been filed so far that are similar? I know we talked about the differences with this one compared to some of the others, but what are the themes that likely those federal investigators are latching onto?
I mean, that's a really great question. I hadn't seen that accusation yet. That's the first time I've seen it, although many comparisons have been made to Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein in the past. They've called Diddy like the Jeffrey Epstein. I think it's just, you're seeing a lot of people sitting back and similar to Jeffrey Epstein asking themselves, how was he capable of getting away with this for so long? Why weren't people brave enough, or why weren't people comfortable? I should use the word comfortable, because everybody's brave that's come out, but why weren't people comfortable enough to call anyone out for this behavior sooner? These guys weren't playing by the rules. And, it's appalling to sit back and read some of these allegations, imagining that they are true and wondering why somebody did not ring the bell sooner.
Kenzie, one last question for you. We know that the local Fox station there in LA has mentioned that he may be selling that home that was raided by investigators. Have you heard anything more confirming that he may be looking to leave Los Angeles?
Yeah, TMZ is also reporting that P. Diddy has put his $70 million Los Angeles mansion on the market after that infamous Homeland Security raid. I don't have any additional details, but it does not surprise me that he's trying to just, maybe it's a diversion, a PR diversion, because all day long that's what we were talking about versus some of these accusations.
That is true. It came out around the same time that we saw that lawsuit going public. Kenzie Schofield, thank you so much for being with us. We do have more to come. We are looking at the difference in this lawsuit because it names a popular hip-hop magazine as a defendant. How the plaintiff says that Vibe magazine conspired with Sean Combs. That's next.
What's up, y'all? Coming here live from London. Extremely humble, grateful, and blessed. Just got nominated for a Grammy.
A-list actor Alec Baldwin is cast in the real-life role he never wanted.
I try and cock the gun, the gun goes off.
Criminal defendant.
His lack of gun safety is something that he's going to have to answer for.
We heard that this was a toxic set.
One more.
It's not his fault. He did nothing wrong.
Is there an actor's exemption from liability when they're handling a deadly firearm?
The Alec Baldwin manslaughter trial. Live coverage weekday mornings only on Court TV.
They're looking at sex trafficking, production of child pornography. These are mandatory minimum sentences, 10 or 15-year sentences. So you know how the feds work. They already got those witnesses lined up, and I'm telling you, it's just a matter of days before an indictment is unsealed and Diddy and others are arrested, probably in a sweeping RICO indictment that names all these as predicate acts. He will be under indictment very soon, Vinny. I think they already have the evidence that they need. They're just trying to wrap it up nicely with that digital footprint.
That was Nemo Romani, a Court TV analyst, who is saying that the federal investigation is brewing behind the scenes. We have not seen a prosecution come out and say if they are presenting things to a grand jury, but there have been reports that it is happening soon, that they are preparing for it. This 10th lawsuit in civil court filed against Sean Diddy Combs goes a step further than what we've seen before because it implicates the popular hip-hop magazine Vibe. This image of the plaintiff was published in November of 2006 in an issue of the magazine, and she said she was wearing the, quote, uniform that was provided to her by Combs and his associates for the White Party. The lawsuit claims that the plaintiff had no knowledge that this photo was taken, nor did she give permission for the image to be published by the magazine. Plaintiff claims in the lawsuit that Combs had a long-standing relationship with the magazine that dates back to 1993 and the publication's general business partnership and financial support, as well as marketing and coverage of Combs' white parties, and made them party to the alleged actions. Now, the lawsuit says that the plaintiff asserts that the defendant, Vibe, and PMC's involvement in this enterprise included providing defendant Combs's resources, like intentionally and falsely marketing and promoting defendant Combs's white parties in its publication as a high-profile networking and social event in an effort to disguise and deceive the real intent of this event. Here with us to discuss all of these allegations, criminal defense attorney and former attorney for R. Kelly, Steve Greenberg, is with us. Also, the editor-in-chief of magazine Hip Hop Inquirer and celebrity photographer Dennis Byron is joining us, and celebrity and trial attorney Chris Melcher with us as well. Thank you all for weighing in on this topic. Steve, let me start with you. This case has some similarities when it comes to how the wording is in this lawsuit to some of the allegations that were against your former client, R. Kelly, but there are some stark differences as well. Your reaction to a magazine being added as a defendant in this civil lawsuit and claiming that they were promoting these parties that many revered as something that was an event to be attended.
Look, I'm always suspicious when I see these things because as much as everyone wants to believe these allegations, and everyone does believe these allegations just because they're made years later, in this case, decades later, about parties that people were at. You see the list of guests that were at these parties, and it's very difficult to believe that some of these people, I saw Leonardo DiCaprio and other celebrities like that were at these parties, to believe that they were just idly sitting by while these things were going on. They add people in these lawsuits because they're looking for as many deep pockets as they can to sue. That's all that's going on here. But these people come up with these allegations. Why do they wait so long if these are such awful things that have happened to them? I think what ultimately, although R. Kelly got convicted of some crimes, and I wasn't involved by the time those cases went to trial, I think what you found out was that the fire or the smoke that was there was much worse than the fire. All sorts of people said there were all these awful things about R. Kelly, but when it came down to it, the allegations were actually far less salacious than what people thought they were going to be. And that might be the case here too.
Well, this victim and the alleged victim, this accuser in this lawsuit, she's claiming that she didn't come forward because of the cycle of abuse, how scared she was to be able to get away or for anyone to believe her. But she says multiple times in this lawsuit it's because other people are coming forward that she feels emboldened to bring this lawsuit. Dennis, you've followed Diddy's career for 30 years professionally. You attended another trial that he was involved in many years ago and followed him as a celebrity photographer. What can you tell me about these white parties and the legitimacy that they had? Because we're seeing them in these pictures. I mean, there are some heavy hitters that are attending them.
I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Greenberg in that, one, I probably attended several of the Vibe parties, a lot of the white parties, a lot of the parties of Cipriani's. I've covered him extensively over the years, and I can tell you, I've seen a lot at these parties. Some not so nefarious. Some, people drink, they smoke at these parties. But I do know at all the Puffy's parties, there's security. And I'm walking the room. I'm shooting people. I have some of the most iconic shots of Puff. I don't want to name drop, but there's so many different celebrities to be at these parties. And while you had to be on the guest list and you had to go through a screening process, I can tell you I have not ever witnessed anything egregious happen at Puff's parties. I've seen some violence happen at parties, but not at Puff's parties. Also, when you name a magazine who essentially like Vibe, they're just promoting the party. I don't know what he had going on during that time. I would have to check my archives. I probably have some of the photos in that magazine already, so I don't know. I think the person or persons that are making these allegations, they have to prove this. And then we have to go back in time to substantiate this, this is going to require a deep investigation, as Mr. Greenberg knows, as well as your panelists know. You just can't just say someone's done something. We learned this, and I covered R. Kelly's trial in Chicago and New York. And what was put out in the press wasn't what came out in both the New York trial and the federal trial in Chicago. So I think people should just wait until all the evidence is put on the table. Let's not rush to judgment. And I'll say this. There's another high-profile celebrity. I won't say his name, but he was accused of something, and they were suing for $20 million. Guess what? It was all bogus. He went on to get a major award this year. It was bogus. And I played a role in investigating that.
Yeah, let me get Chris's take on specifically Vibe magazine, because we're going to keep talking about this, but there's a picture, Chris, that has been shown that the plaintiff put in this lawsuit, said that it was taken without her knowledge, it was used in the magazine, and she's saying during this time she was not necessarily trafficked while she was wearing the white, but once they in later times had her to wear black, then she was designated as this sex worker. Your thoughts on the magazine being named as part of this lawsuit?
This seems to be opportunistic, and I read the complaint. It's over 100 pages long, and it's really not the normal type of legal complaint that we would see. This looks more like a press release and pushing up all these other allegations that have been made, and it just seems like an opportunity for her to pile on and to make allegations now saying that she was offended or hurt by things that she appeared to have done willingly earlier on. So I agree with the other comments that this is easy for somebody with a computer to basically come out here and type this stuff up and file it in federal court. That's not proof of anything. And I think that the allegation against Vibe there doesn't seem to be any real basis for that.
I gotta say, it's a detailed lawsuit, and it has those pictures. It seems that they want to show that Vibe magazine gave legitimacy to this, and they've got the proof. But we are going to keep talking about this case. Our guests are here the rest of the hour. Sean Combs facing a slew of troubling accusations, from sex trafficking to rape. We have more next.
I'm Matt Johnson in Santa Fe, New Mexico, covering the Alec Baldwin manslaughter trial. This is Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Multiple lawsuits filed against Sean Combs accused the music mogul of sex trafficking. Federal authorities raided his home in Los Angeles and Miami during their investigation into these claims. According to this latest lawsuit, due to these numerous lawsuits filed against the defendant, Combs alleging same or similar acts, there's now growing awareness that defendant Combs was engaging in far more sinister acts than previously known, including physical abuse and sex trafficking. Specifically, from 2004 to 2009, plaintiff claims that she was sex trafficked by defendant Combs. Plaintiff says that she can support her allegations within this complaint and has lived her adult life with the memories of being trapped in a cycle of sex trafficking, that she never asked to be a part of this. She was chosen because defendant Combs knew he could groom her. For years, plaintiff has been affected by defendant's action and has suffered extreme emotional distress, impacting nearly every aspect of plaintiff's life and personal relationships. Given all the brave individuals who have come forward against defendant Combs, plaintiff is doing the same. Still with us to talk about the latest allegations and where things are going in this case, Steve Greenberg and Chris Melcher are with us, both criminal defense attorneys. And we're talking about, Chris and Steve, the designation of sex trafficking. Throughout this civil lawsuit, we see those terms. It gets explicit. It says that she feels as if she was a sex slave. Chris, let me start with you, because this is a civil lawsuit, but it feels like it's a criminal one.
Well, that's right. I mean, these are obviously, heinous acts that are being alleged, and she's looking for money, and that's what would happen if she prevailed or the other plaintiffs prevailed in this, and this would be separate from the criminal investigation. So, again, with the amount of attention that's on him right now, and the delay that she had in filing this suit, I got to imagine she or her representatives approached the other side for a settlement, and I assume that there was nothing offered or not enough. but this is really an unlike the Casey Ventura case that did settle quickly. I do see this being different.
Steve, do you think the federal investigators are reaching out to these who are filing the lawsuits, or do you think they've already been in contact with them? Do you think there's any connection there between the raid and just as they build their case, which we understand is happening behind the scenes?
Well, I think he's going to get indicted here. I think there's no doubt he's going to get indicted. I think that's where he should be worried, that he's going to get indicted. They're investigating him in the Southern District of New York. They're going to do the same thing they did before. They're going to take a bunch of little petty charges. You see in this lawsuit, she makes reference to state statutes, and they're going to take federal statutes that, like the RICO Act, where they can use state laws, and they're going to make a federal case and build it on that. There's no question that P. Diddy is going to face very serious federal charges as a result of what he's been doing over the years. These women who very well may have been voluntarily participating in a lifestyle are now going to claim that they were his sex slaves, that he was trafficking them, and if a jury believes them, he is going to have big problems.
Steve, as a follow-up, why do you think this is filed in New York? We saw your former client, R. Kelly, his case, even though many of the incidents that were alleged and that he was convicted on happened in Chicago and Florida and California, but he was charged in New York. What is it about New York?
I think that the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York is taking a very aggressive stand. What they did in the R. Kelly case was that they filed a RICO action, but they used the Mann Act. So the Mann Act is a law that says that it's a federal crime if you cross state lines for sexual purposes. And they took misdemeanor state, it's very complicated, but they took misdemeanor state criminal acts and sort of federalized them by using the Mann Act, and then used the Mann Act, which is a predicate act for a RICO crime. So they sort of took a misdemeanor and made a federal case out of it. And they're the only ones who have done this anywhere in the country. The New York prosecutors, just in the Eastern District and in the Southern District, have been very aggressive on these cases. It's just the way they've operated. I don't know why. You would think Miami or California, where the houses are located, is where the investigations would be going on. But from everything I've seen, the investigation is in New York City.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing and learning. Dennis Byron is back with us, celebrity photographer, been covering P. Diddy for 30 years. He's been many different names, Dennis, over the years, but talk about the difference between his interaction with the criminal justice system now versus when you covered him with the gun possession charge many decades ago. What's the difference in how the public is perceiving him then versus now?
Well, now he hasn't been charged. Then he was charged, he was prosecuted, and he was found not guilty. He didn't take the stand in that case. Sean was ultimately convicted of the shooting. In this case, you have a lot of people coming forward. You have a lot of people making allegations about Puff. This is going to be a problem because it's, with the settlement with Cassie, and you have the multiple lawsuits are just popping up left and right, and you have people that have been saying things behind the scenes for years. Now he has to, he can't really sell any more cases at this point. He has to fight this. At this point, he has to fight this. His legacy, he's an icon. He has to fight this, and he has the resources. And I think that, like Attorney Greenberg stated, that people are coming in, and some of these lawsuits could be frivolous. We don't know this, but I want to give the guy, even though this video with him beating up Cassie is very bad, and I'm very disappointed, but and he's totally responsible for that, totally. But I still want to see all the evidence. I don't want to just rush the judge. I don't want to do that.
Dennis, do you think that's it? Do you think the the fame of Cassie and the video that backed up some of the allegations that she made in the lawsuit are why the public are reacting so negatively to him this time around, when we know that the accusations with the gun charges, where like you said, there was an actual charge, didn't seem to impact his career negatively in the way that it is now.
We didn't have social media back then either. We didn't have heavy social media. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have a lot of social media platforms. And it's pushing the message out there. I mean, then you had a case in New York, no cameras. Essentially, you had to go in there and just take notes. Now you have people who can get on social media and say anything. And it's just, and the other problem with this is the potential juror pools are watching this. And I don't know if he can get a fair trial in America, because it's all, I mean, everyone's talking about Diddy. I mean, this is even bigger than R. Kelly. If we want to be honest, this is even bigger than R. Kelly's case. Because this guy's a mogul.
Steve Greenberg nodding along, so it's got to be the case. We are going to keep talking about this, so everybody just stand by. We've had our first look inside Diddy's world in terms of this negative view of it, when his former girlfriend, we've been mentioning her, Cassie, when she filed that lawsuit claiming that she was abused by him. We're going to go back, look at what that has done to not only his persona, but how it may be impacting this federal investigation about us and what it says about the current lawsuits against him. Next.
Cassie, whose legal name is Cassandra Ventura, met Combs when she was 19 years old. That's when she says she was lured into his fast-paced, drug-fueled lifestyle. Combs signed her to his record label in 2005 when he was 37 years old. In the federal lawsuit filed in New York, Ventura alleges more than a decade of abuse during their relationship. She claims Combs drugged and savagely beat her and forced her to have sex with male prostitutes. She also says toward the end of their relationship in 2018, he raped her.
That was a listen to one of the lawsuits that was filed against Combs by his ex-girlfriend, singer Cassie Ventura. Now, that suit has been settled out of court, but her suit gave us a first insight into this nefarious world, Diddy's world, according to his accuser, and alleged crimes. We also got to see firsthand the abuse of Ventura that she suffered at the hands of the music mogul. CNN exclusively obtained video from inside a Los Angeles hotel showing a violent attack on Ventura.
New surveillance footage obtained exclusively by CNN appears to corroborate some of the allegations of abuse against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The video, captured on multiple cameras, shows Combs assaulting his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in a hallway at a Los Angeles hotel in March 2016. A lawsuit filed by Ventura in November last year and settled the next day referenced actions that seem to match those seen in this video. There is no audio. According to the complaint, Combs became extremely intoxicated and punched Miss Ventura in the face, giving her a black eye, which, according to the lawsuit, prompted Ventura to try and leave the hotel room. The surveillance video obtained by CNN begins as she enters the hallway. The complaint says as she exited, Mr. Combs awoke and began screaming at Miss Ventura. He followed her into the hallway of the hotel while yelling at her. The complaint goes on to say he grabbed her and then took glass vases in the hallway and threw them at her. In the surveillance video, Combs can be seen grabbing Ventura and throwing her to the ground. As Ventura lies on the ground, Combs then kicks her twice and attempts to drag her on the floor back to the hotel room. Ventura is seen picking up a hotel phone. Combs seems to walk back to the hotel room, then returns and appears to shove her in a corner. Moments later, he can be seen throwing an object in her direction. According to Ventura's now settled lawsuit, the pair began dating several years after they met in 2005. They parted ways in 2019. Combs' attorney said the decision to settle was in no way an admission of wrongdoing. Ventura declined to comment on the video, but her attorney told CNN the gut-wrenching video has only further confirmed the disturbing and predatory behavior of Mr. Combs. Words cannot express the courage and fortitude that Miss Ventura has shown in coming forward to bring this to light. The video hasn't been seen publicly before and comes on the heels of a series of civil lawsuits alleging Combs' involvement in sex trafficking and sexual abuse. Allegations Combs has repeatedly denied. In a December 2023 statement, Combs responded to the claims in all the lawsuits, saying, "Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged."
Still with us, Dennis Byron and Chris Melcher, as we break down the latest allegations, but also looking back at some of the other allegations against P. Diddy Combs. Let me start with you, Dennis. In following his career for 30 years, this horrible video that was released by CNN, it happened in 2016. Can you talk about what happened in his career following 2016 and how, if this had been released then, it may have changed things? I mean, this is someone who really has just risen in the world of hip hop, but even beyond that. And he got a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2022 from BET.
The problem is no one's seen this video, and if someone had seen this video prior to him getting that award, he wouldn't have received the award. You have to also know that there have been a lot of people around Puffy over the years, and none of them have come out to defend him, with the exception of maybe one or two people, and that's pretty telling, because he's invited some of the who's who in entertainment to his parties. When I say the who's who, I've photographed some of the biggest names at his parties, and I have seen none of them come out to say, hey, this is not this guy. And it's very troubling. And I think that if this case gets indicted and they bring this video out, it's going to be problematic. And they had less. They had, in my opinion, they didn't have this kind of visual in the other cases I covered, like R. Kelly. They didn't have this type of stuff. They didn't have this type of stuff.
That's true.
And that's the problem.
We were both there, Dennis. We were on the ground in New York for that R. Kelly trial. They did not have a video like this that they let us see. They did have some audio recordings that never got released to the public because they were too explicit. But for this to already be circulating does make a big difference. Can I follow up real quick with you, Dennis, and ask you if you're surprised in covering trials that impact those who are in the hip hop industry? Are you surprised that more high names, heavy hitters haven't come forward to defend Diddy?
Now, I would say not so surprised. No one wants to really attach their brand to his brand, because his brand is crumbling right now. So I don't think anyone wants to really, that the big names, and there are 4 big names in hip hop, and only one of them has been pretty vocal, and they've pretty much been on Diddy's neck, so to speak. And I'll just say 50 Cent has given Diddy some hell right now. And I can say that because, 50's been very vocal about how he sees this. And I don't think anyone of notoriety is going to attach their name to his brand right now. His empire is crumbling. So I don't see it happening. And, now the jury pool has seen this video. I don't know if he's going to, be able to come out of this with clean hands.
Chris, if you're an entertainment lawyer representing P. Diddy, I know he's likely got an entertainment lawyer, a criminal defense attorney, everyone's standing by right now. What are you advising him? What does he do while the world is watching these lawsuits, watching this video, and there's no charge at this point, but everyone is expecting an indictment soon?
Well, this is always difficult for a celebrity because all of these headlines, all of this media coverage, and he really needs to be careful because he likely will be indicted, but he also, can't defend himself really against these things. I think that the prior denials that his attorney has made and then he himself has made that you displayed earlier really are coming back to haunt him because they're not credible. And even with Ms. Ventura's suit, there was an immediate denial by his attorney saying that this was some kind of shakedown or payday, and obviously it was nothing like that. So obviously anything he says has to be truthful, but also to avoid omissions. So he can have surrogates or other people going out there and trying to talk up his good character, talk about this being an isolated incident, that this is part of some criminal enterprise. But, this is very difficult. And I think that groundwork is going to need to be done in these coming weeks here. Now that the Ventura video has been out there, everybody's seen it. We've kind of been able to process that a bit. Now I think is the time to come out there and try and rehabilitate his image.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because he did put that one video out. We have it. It's no longer on Instagram, but it is something that he did put on Instagram not too long after this video emerged.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you got to do that. I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now.
Chris, to you again, do you think there needs to be more like this? And also, a second question to that is, you've got these victims writing these lawsuits with trigger warnings on the top, saying that they couldn't speak out then, they feel more empowered to speak out now. Do you think there's going to be any change brought about now that everything is out in the open and he is forced to apologize for at least this part of it that's on video?
Well, his approach there in that video was awful, and he knew what he did when he did it. All this time had gone by, and he had denied it and accused her of trying to shake him down. And so really what he was upset about is that he got caught. And that's my takeaway from this video, was insincere. This is not the kind of thing that he should be doing. Why was he so upset about it now? Why wasn't he upset immediately after it happened? So he has to be, again, very, very careful. I think that was not a good look. And obviously he's got to take responsibility for his actions, but also do it in a way that's sincere. And I really don't think that landed. And then we have, as we mentioned earlier, all these other lawsuits coming out there, and we don't know, because we weren't witnesses to these things. Did he abuse them also, or are they just piling on for a payday?
Dennis, we have to go in just a moment, but can you say whether you think there has been a change now in the music industry because of the prosecution of R. Kelly and now pending indictment potentially of Sean Diddy Combs?
I don't know so much of a change, but I think there are people that are shaking in their boots right now because they're, I can't say too much now, but there's some things that may be also coming down the pipeline as it relates to others. So I think that especially the executives are running these labels. They are telling their artists that we're not going to stand behind you. We're not going to back you up if you're out there doing crazy stuff. So hopefully this is a wake-up call, for the other artists that are rising to the top of the game. Again,
thank you for those comments.
Puffy wasn't the only case I covered that.
Right. Sorry to cut you off, Dennis. We do have to get to our break, but thank you, Dennis Byron, Chris Melcher, and Steve Greenberg, for all of your comments, breaking this down with us. Before we leave you tonight, we do have to show you this picture. This is 13-year-old Kaisha Fennell. Kaisha was last seen in Houston, Texas on June 27th. If you have any information about where Kaisha is tonight, please call the Houston Police Department at 713-884-3131. You can always call 1-800-THE-LOST. Let's see if we can get Kaisha to a safe place tonight. That's all we have time for here on Closing Arguments. I'm Julia Janae, filling in for Vinnie Paulton. Have a safe night.